Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, 20-year veteran of the Protestant ministry. I was a Pentecostal evangelist for 20 years. I have a Bible college degree. I have over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical text. And as Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool someone than it is to convince them they've been fooled. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. I'm here to help you unindoctrinate yourself. And tonight at 1:30 in the morning on the Gulf Coast of Florida, I'm here to talk to you about reptilians. And I'm here to tell you folks, they were here first. It's not a matter of believing. It's not a matter of accepting. It's a matter of fact. I'm going to show you from the original Hebrew Old Testament that the reptilians were in fact here first, and we will discuss some of the implications of this staggering knowledge. Before we go any further, I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you feel like you're being helped, I want you to meditatively consider supporting me financially by going to jeffreydaugherty.com, which I will put in the information box below, and hitting the donate button. This broadcast is brought to you by Mystech. Mystech are the bands that I wear that have changed my life completely. More energy, less sleep, easier to meditate, easier to astral project. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, hit the Mystech logo, decide which one you want, order from me a full 20% discount. That helps you, it helps Mystech, and it also helps me because they break a little off for yours truly, the friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, and that allows us to keep going out and doing the things that we do to serve you, to help you unindoctrinate yourself. So, as I always do, let's go ahead and look into the scriptures tonight. We're going to look into the scriptures. And we're in the book of Genesis, the first chapter of Genesis. And I want you to notice, even though these headings are not inspired, they're just added by translators. The first day, light was created. The second day, the firmament was created. The third day, dry ground was created. The fourth day, the sun, the moon, and stars were created. The fifth day, it says, fish and birds. The 6 days, the sixth day, creatures on the land, including man, or Homo sapiens sapien, us. So I want you to notice that we are not created until verse 27. So God created man. The Elohim created man in their own image. Male and female created they, them. The word Elohim, God here, means gods and goddesses, male and female, more than one. And they created us, male and female, more than one, in their own image, exactly like they were. That happened in verse 27. What I want you to notice right now is verse 21. 6 verses before we are created. 6 verses before we are created, ladies and gentlemen, God created the great whales. Yes, so what, Jeff? So he created whales 6 verses before he created us. Well, I like to do a little thing called Bible study. I like to do a little thing called not believing everything I'm told. I like to do a little thing called digging into the original language to see how much these bastards have lied to us. So let's do a little digging, shall we? Let's look at verse 21, and let's see exactly what was created in verse 21. Remember, we're talking about the reptilians saying they were here first. All right. So, the Elohim created the great sea creatures, is what it says. Let's look at the actual Hebrew word, great. Bigger, extremely, exceedingly, great men, great ones, great things, greater, greatest. So this word does not necessarily connotate size. In fact, its base meaning is magnitude and extent. So this great whatever that was created wasn't big, it was majestic. It was awe-inspiring. So this majestic, what is sea creature? Well, sea creature is tanin. Short definition, monster. That's why you've got to look into this stuff, because they lie to you. What does tan mean? Serpent, dragon. The first and base meaning, serpent, venomous. Let me show you something, ladies and gentlemen. This shows you over here. This word is serpent, majestic serpent. There's 27 occurrences of it. 27 occurrences of this word. This one may remind you of something. Let's look at this. Exodus 7 and 9. I don't like the way they did this. Exodus 7 and 9. Moses, say to Aaron, throw down your rod, and it shall become a tannin. It shall become a tannin. A tannin. Same word we were just looking at. Moses, throw down your rod. Tell Aaron to throw down his rod. It's going to become a serpent. Whoops. My bad. It's going to become, oh my goodness, I closed that whole window. That's all right. It's early in the morning. So listen. The gods created 6 verses before they created us. They created the majestic serpents. I know it says the great whales. I know it says the great sea creatures in the King James Version, but we just saw one instance where it was a serpent and not a sea creature. Let me show you another instance of that same word so you will believe what the scriptures say. Okay, so Exodus 7:9, Exodus 7:10, it became a serpent. Exodus 7:12, they became a serpent. That's 3. How many do you need? Deuteronomy 32:33, the venom of serpents. Job 7:12, the serpent. How many scriptures do I have to read to you that shows that what was created here was not a great sea creature? It's an obvious mistranslation to distract you from the truth. It was a great serpent, a majestic serpent. What does it mean it was a majestic serpent? Well, it was a majestic serpent in this sense that the Christ said, be subtle as serpents, gentle as doves. Let's see if that pulls. There it is, Matthew 10:6. What is the Christ saying in Matthew 10:16? It doesn't make sense unless we look at the entirety of Scripture. Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Why would he say that? Interlinear. Verse 16. Be wise, be shrewd, intelligent, prudent, sensible, wise. Be prudent as a serpent. Be innocent as a dove. What is innocent? Simple, unsophisticated, innocent, without blame, unmixed. That's a key, unmixed. I can't go all the way into this, but I can tell you to get my book, Serpents and Doves in the Garden of the Gods. It tells you about all of this in detail. But here's the point, ladies and gentlemen. In Genesis 1:21, we see without a doubt in the scripture and from the scripture itself that 6 verses before we were created, what was created was a majestic serpent. It's not, well, I don't believe that. Well, it doesn't matter what you believe, because the scriptures plainly teach that in Genesis 1:21, a majestic serpent was created. The Christ himself referenced the majestic serpent. What is a majestic serpent? It's an upright hominid form that was basically a reptilian person. It's just like I showed you on the show page here. It's just like the picture you see on the show page. This is what they were. They were majestic serpents. And they were here first. They were here 6 verses before us. They even had blue eyes. Look at that. They were here 6 verses before us. Who knows how long of a time is covered in those 6 verses? Was it a week, a day, a month? Was it 1,000 years, 100,000 years, a million years? Who knows? But one thing we do know first from Scripture, and this is also from other great epic stories, not just the Bible, that they were here first. The reptilians were here first. The majestic serpents were here first. What are the implications of this knowledge? What are the implications of this discovery? What are the implications of the fact that they were here first? That the serpents preceded us, who are metaphorically called doves, here on planet Earth. Let's think about this. I wish we were able to do live broadcast, but I'm in YouTube timeout because of a copyright strike. It looks like it came from the American Gods producers. I'm doing what I can to see if we can fight it. But what are the implications of the reptilians being here first? Well, I think we'd have to ask ourselves, if they're here first, why don't we see them? Well, the reason why we don't see them is because they are shapeshifters. And it is something that we ourselves should have known how to do, but we allowed ourselves to be conned into these mud hut bodies, and we're having difficulty learning how to shapeshift again. The majestic serpents were born and received the knowledge of shapeshifting from the Elohim. If you remember, the Elohim would come down into the garden in the cool of the day and walk with men and women, and they would walk in physical form. The men and women said, wow, we want to be able to do that, because they were at that time essentially spirit beings. And the men and women got antsy, allowed themselves to be conned into these mud hut bodies that the rat bastard the Lord made in Genesis chapter 2. And as a result, we've been stuck in these bodies, and we have forgotten how to shapeshift. I don't believe the majestic serpents ever took that bait. They were shrewd. They did not allow themselves to be conned by the rat bastard. At least some of them didn't. Some of them went with him, some of them, but none of them, I don't believe, gave up their ability to shape shift. So they're living amongst us today. Some of my subscribers have met them. Some of my subscribers have seen them shape shift. I am not included among those people. But there are majestic serpents that still walk the earth today. And due to their ability to shape shift better than us, maybe they had thousands of years on us to learn, and they're not that much smarter. They just have had more time to develop their abilities. But there are many of them that do shape shift, and many of them that we probably meet and don't know that we're meeting reptilian beings. So what are the implications? Number one, they're here. Get used to it. They're here, they're near, get used to it. Number two, they were here first. Now, the plan was to use the full human, the full spirit being human, the majestic serpent, the DNA from both to create us, Homo sapiens sapien, and that is what happened. We are the hybrid creation between the reptilian, majestic serpent, and the Genesis 1 spiritual being human. We are the Elohuman, if you will. But they were here first. Think about the land we call the United States of America. There were people that were here first. We came in and decided that we would kill them all and take their land. And we killed them fair and square. We took their land fair and square. Of course, you can't kill and steal fair and square. I'm being sarcastic. What if we did the same thing to the reptilians? We have conquered this earth as Homo sapiens sapiens. Where did the reptilians go? Where did the majestic serpents go? And do the majestic serpents have a legal claim to this earth? Or shall we say a better legal claim to this earth than we do? I think it's a question that has to be asked. I would answer that in reality, the full and perfect plan of the Elohim was to create the hybrid whom we are. We are the Elohuman, the hybrid between human and serpent. So we are the optimal life form for this planet, I believe. The majestic serpents are not the optimal life form for this planet, nor were the original Genesis 1 humans. Both had their flaws, both had their strengths. So the Elohim, in their wisdom, combined our DNA, gave us the ability to accentuate our serpent qualities and accentuate our human qualities. Thus the Christ saying, be shrewd as serpents, be gentle as doves. Be the best of your serpent, maximize, utilize, activate the best of your serpent DNA, and utilize, activate, maximize the best of your human DNA. So when we really get ourselves dialed in, we are operating at top reptilian proficiency, we are operating at top human proficiency, and we are operating as a Elohuman. The combination of the Genesis 1 human form and the Genesis 1:21 reptilian form, the majestic serpent. I would suggest to you that because they have been here longer than us, that they deserve our respect. They deserve our consideration. They deserve our hand of fellowship, if you will. But reptilians are bad. Are reptilians any worse than the natives that were here and we started killing them and they reacted with predictable actions? Is that the same reason why the reptilians have the reputation of being bad towards us? That's part of it. If you get serpents and doves in the garden of the gods, you see the rest of it, that they did form a slave master relationship with us in serving the rat bastard, the Lord Yahweh Jehovah. But I do believe there are benevolent reptilian beings. There are benevolent, majestic serpents still on planet Earth. I believe many of them exist in a shape-shifted capacity. And it's also possible that many of them exist in geographic areas that are not populated by humans. They may live in caves, they may live underground, and they certainly live in places where we don't see them very often. Every now and then you do get a glimpse of a reptilian, but not that often. The implication is that we're not here first, that we should learn to share this planet with the majestic serpents who have just as much of a right to this planet as do we. Perhaps they even have a greater claim on this planet than we do. Perhaps they even have a greater claim on this planet than we do. And may I suggest to you that as we move forward with our plans to take over this world and snatch it back from Yahweh, Jehovah, the rat bastard, the unjust husbandman, that if we could contact these majestic serpents that are either benevolent or at least neutral towards us, we may be able to leverage their help in defeating the rat bastard. We may be able to leverage their help in defeating the rat bastard. I'm saying we ought to extend the olive branch. We ought to extend the peace pipe, if you will, to follow the Native American analogy, to the reptilians. And I personally would like to extend to any that are hearing this, any that are aware of this, I would personally extend my right hand of fellowship to you as a benevolent, majestic serpent. And I would solicit your help and assistance in this work that I'm attempting, and in the work of bringing down the rat bastard and restoring the stewardship of this planet to a person of a higher character and quality. So if you are a majestic serpent and you're listening to me, I would encourage you and ask you to reach out to me. I believe we could work together for the betterment of the entire planet and both of our species. Why would we want to war against the reptilians? I think it's important that we realize the implications are likely that, just like they try to divide and conquer between black and white, and rich and poor, and north and south, and east and west, it is in the best interest of the powers that be to keep the reptilian, the majestic serpents, and the doves, the Elohim and us, from finding each other and from joining forces. The rat bastard has fostered a policy of divide and conquer between the two dominant life forms of this earth. We should recognize the majestic serpents. We should seek out the majestic serpents. We should work with the majestic serpents. They would make great allies in our desire to remove Yahweh, the failed steward of this planet, and replace him with a more honorable, a more knowledgeable, and a being that is better at managing this earth and allowing people to live in the original freedom and self-determination as set forth by the Elohim. Stop asking why God won't do something about the earth, because the gods are waiting for us to do it. They set up an arena for us to be able to manifest our Elohim in training nature. And I think the next step of that might be reaching out to our majestic serpent brethren. Again, if you are a majestic serpent and you're listening to this, I encourage you to contact me. If you're benevolent, if you're malevolent, please don't. I don't want to fight you, but I would if I had to. I would rather work with you, so please. The benevolent, the neutral, those that are just as sick and tired of the rat bastard as I am, reach out to me. And I will extend to you again the right hand of fellowship. And perhaps we can work together to change this planet. You were here first. You are the majestic serpent. We are the full species that the Elohim wanted to be and made optimal for this planet. But you were here first, and because of that, I feel that we should honor you and offer you the opportunity to participate in the redemption of this planet. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. You know how to get a hold of me. And for you normal humans out there, open your mind. Expand your base of knowledge and get outside your comfort zone. There's nothing remarkable in your comfort zone. They were here first. And if you're trying to redeem a planet, wouldn't it make sense to seek the advice and knowledge of those that have been here the longest? Are there bad ones? Sure there are. Are there bad humans? Absolutely. How many of them are left? I don't know. But I know this. If they are majestic serpents, if they are beings that look anything like this fellow here, they look to me to be very formidable allies. And they look to me to be beings that I would choose not to have as enemies. They were here first. Yes, we as Elohumans, Homo sapiens sapien, are the optimal life form for this planet. We owe these beings for our reptilian cortex brain. We owe them for our hair, our skin, our eyes, our teeth. We owe them for much of that which makes us optimal. And we should extend to them the right hand of fellowship. And remember, the rat bastard dissed them too. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. I'm the Christian Whistleblower. And I'm encouraging you to expand your mind. Be your own guru, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, unindoctrinate yourself, ask questions, question answers, stay fearless. And this is what I really mean when I say unindoctrinate yourself.